You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.
All right, Jimmy, out along with Bruce Marshall. We're talking bowl season, and you know what? With all the moving parts in bowl season, it is quite a headache. That's what we're going to lean on our guys like Bruce Marshall, like Paul Stone, not just for the picks, but for the angles and for the information, more information based in your bowl handicapping than probably ever. And I don't know where the trend is going to go, but it is opt-outs just before the weekend was about 1,300. Right after the weekend, it was over 2,000. So a lot of moving parts with coaches, players, the whole shebang. All right, let's start off in Orlando at the Cure Bowl. Miami of Ohio, after their MAC championship, the upset over Toledo in Detroit of the MAC championship game. App State is 6.5 over Miami, Ohio, Bruce.
Yeah, the Cure Bowl, Orlando. This is at the soccer stadium in Orlando. It's not at the Big Citrus Bowl, so it's actually right adjacent to it there. So a little bit smaller venue there, and not just the Cure Bowl, but the Avocados from Mexico Cure Bowl. So a guacamole bath for the winning coach. So I think we'll see what happens here. But Miami was really a storyline this season. You know, Jimmy, we talked about this way back in September after they got leveled in the Battle of the Miamis against the Hurricanes, 45-3 in the opener. And we thought, okay, same old from Miami. Maybe they get 6-6 and squeeze into another bowl game. But no, they ended up taking off after that, 10-2 straight up and against the spread since then. And they did it down the stretch without their quarterback, Brett Gabbert, who got hurt in late October. Avion Smith, the sophomore, who came and backed him up. This is a run-based offense, and he did not throw a lot, but he ran a lot. And the defense, though, really picked up down the stretch. Only 11 points per game and allowed the last 5. That includes a revenge game against Toledo in the MAC championship game that you referred to a second ago, and that win in Detroit. But more than that, I mean, Miami has been really good in bowls, and this is the one little tricky thing here. And for the most part, in recent years, MAC teams have not fared all that great in bowls. Miami has been the exception. They have covered 4 straight bowl games for Martin, who seems to come into every year on the hot seat. And this year, I think maybe he's pulled himself off the hot seat because the heat should be off of Chuck Martin there. App is a little bit different style team, a lot more explosive with Aguiar, the quarterback. I mean, threw for over 3,500 yards, 33 TDs. Scored a lot more points this year. But Miami puts these games into a different mode, and slowing down Toledo like that, which is a pretty explosive team in both games against Toledo, the Rockets couldn't do too much. Makes me think maybe Miami turns this into a slugfest, and this might be a bulldog to take a look at. So I'm going to give Miami a lean here, and looking for another bowl cover here. By the way, App has lost its last 3 bowl games too, so maybe it's a big deal for them to finally get one here. But this is not an easy matchup, and I think they are undervaluing the Redhawks once more.
Yeah, usually in NCAA basketball postseason, we are talking about battles of tempo, but you have a battle of tempo here with App State in Miami, Ohio. And that's right, the Avocados from Mexico. Yeah, you got to sing it in the theme when you cut your high school kicker. Get extra value this football season with BetRivers Squares. You can win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square, brought to you by our friends over at BetRivers. Let's do with the New Mexico Bowl in Albuquerque, New Mexico State. Man, it looked like that Friday night, probably you were glued to the Washington-Oregon Pac-12 championship game. But New Mexico State and Liberty was good. They were trading punches. This thing was coming down to the wire until Diego Pavia was knocked out of the game. And then they just couldn't. They didn't have the same level of play. I love watching this kid play. He executes. He's textbook on how to play fake and, run, pass. I mean, he absolutely gets the most out of his limited skill set because he can do it all as a multi-purpose quarterback for a coach that gets the most out of his roster in Jerry Kill, Bruce.
Absolutely. And that first things first here, Pavia will play in this game. Jerry Kill says he's good to go, and that shoulder injury he suffered. And that was a great game against Liberty. You're right. Throwing haymakers at one another. And the Aggies were still in that thing late. I mean, down 7 late in the fourth quarter at a big pass to get down there. And I don't know if they got close, didn't quite score, but they were ready to tie the game. It was called back for a penalty. They had to, turn over the ball, and then that last touchdown by Liberty extended the margin. That was important because that also broke the spread. But the spread and New Mexico State have been good friends for a year and a half since midseason last year, 17-4 against the spread, and that really coincided with Pavia taking over at quarterback. And like we said, he's going to be here in this game. That's only half the story here, or a third of the story. Fresno comes in without Jeff Tedford, the head coach. He's have some health issues again. He had to step away a few years ago. They're a little concerned up in the Central Valley that they say this isn't that serious, but whatever. He is not coaching in the bowl game. Tim Skipper, the linebacker coach, will take over for this game only. But Fresno, we have seen this from Tedford teams in the past, Jimmy. They're either flying high, or when it starts to sort of unravel, it really unravels quick. That's what happened in 2019, his last stint at Fresno, after those first two Fresno sides were a revelation. Uh, 2019, though, it really unraveled, and they went downhill fast before he had to step away. He inherited the team with Jake Haener at quarterback last year. We saw him with the Saints this summer, and from Kalen DeBoer. And last year turned into a real season-long celebration for Fresno, especially once Haener came back because he was hurt in September. He came back, they went to a bowl game, and there was Tedford winning and covering games. Down the stretch this year, though, no. They started to unravel about midseason. In fact, they're only 1-7 against the number of their last 8, and that includes 3 straight thumping losses at the end of the season. Mikey Keene, the quarterback, was out. He was back in there at the end. They did not look good, and this does not look like a team that's excited to go to Albuquerque, which the Aggies are. That is not a long ride up from Las Cruces. Their fans are going to be there. And one other thing, Jimmy, we talked about this last December, and I remember you in the radio talking about how impressed you were at New Mexico State going up to Detroit to play that game where there weren't many fans in the stands.
Bowling Green,
They,
yeah.
yeah, and they were looked like the Super Bowl. They were jumping around,
Yes.
and they jumped on Bowling Green early, held
Yes.
on for the win. That's Jerry Kill for you. I love the spot with New Mexico State here. I think this is a stick out in all the bowl games. This might be my favorite one. New Mexico State, right? I'm here. It's like a home field edge in Fresno. I'm not sure it wants to be there. Let's take the Aggies here.
Double barrel, call it triple barrel action. Both you, Paul Stone, and myself, all on New Mexico State in this one. And like I said, trying to find motivation in the with these different teams. I don't know about Fresno State. I don't know. I do know this: New Mexico State is going to be near the top of my list. Is what I mean. To the point where Jerry Kill, I'm a little bit worried about his health at times on some of his, his side in-game, emotion, I guess you could say. And
Just a little intense.
He's already had to take a step down or take some time off because of his health. But
Sure.
his teams are well coached. And Pavia in that championship game where he was knocked out, he was averaging over 11 yards an attempt for 3 TDs and also 9 yards an attempt rushing for another TD. The backup quarterback did trade punch one time to make it 35-35, but could not score in the fourth quarter. Let's go to the Los Angeles Bowl. UCLA. Bruce Marshall, he loves L.A. UCLA -4 against the Boise State Broncos in their interim, now permanent, head coach with the Broncos after their Mountain West Conference championship.
Yeah, and this was not really expected when they moved Andy Avalos out early November, when they were sitting there at 5-5, and Spencer Danielson promoted from defensive coordinator. He's only 35 years old. They gave him a shot to the end of the season. There was talk there they might bring Brian Harsin back. Remember, he had left for Auburn a few years ago. But they responded so well to Danielson down the stretch. They roared into the Mountain West Championship game where they blew out UNLV, and they have awarded or rewarded Danielson with the permanent job. So he is now the head coach on the blue carpet moving forward. And they will have some support coming out here to LA, as the fans were very excited about that win over UNLV. It's only 2 weeks ago, so this is, not like that normal bowl lull, just like a one bye week in there, and Boise can pick it up. However, there are some changes. Taylon Green, their quarterback, who really came on at the end of the season. It kind of a roller coaster for him. Started the season as the quarterback, then the freshman the pocket-sized freshman. Maddox Madsen came in, took most of the snaps through midseason, got hurt, and they had to go back to Green. And all of a sudden, he blossomed down the stretch and really put up some big numbers. Dual threat quarterback, however, right into the portal, and now he is an Arkansas Razorback. And watch for him next year because I think Jefferson's leaving Fayetteville. We'll talk about that next August or so when we get ready for the preview for the SEC next year. But Taylon Green is gone, so they're going to go with a quarterback who has never thrown a pass. Tiller, the true freshman, is going to start this game, they think. And the other Fulton, the other quarterback, who's a redshirt freshman, they may use both of them. But whatever the case is, they're going to use a quarterback who's never played in this game. And I think that's a little bit of a negative here for Boise, especially the way Green is playing down the stretch. Now, UCLA has been catching flack, Jimmy, as you can imagine, after the Cal game. 3 of their last 4 games, they looked miserable. Now, for Chip Kelly's sake, the one game he picked for UCLA to play this game of the year was the USC game. And that has probably saved his job. Although, just a cautionary tale here, I can remember Larry Smith at USC losing that bowl game to Fresno in the Freedom Bowl, which I was at, 1992. Looked like he was safe, not after that bowl game. So they made the move and they brought John Robinson back. I don't know that UCLA is going to do that if they look bad here, but the Bruins have been getting a lot of heat. I don't know that it's a big deal that Dante Moore, the quarterback, has transferred out and gone into the portal because he was not playing well from midseason on. So Garbers was in last year. He played in the bowl game last year against Pitt. He'll probably be getting the snaps in this one. UCLA's defense pretty good this year, tough against the run. They'll have to be against Ashton Genty, the Boise running back, really tough to bring down. But here's the one thing, Jimmy. UCLA has been catching so much flack the last couple of weeks at home. They're playing this game just down the freeway at the Rams Stadium at SoFi. So it's a hometown game for them. I think they're going to circle the wagons and play here. It has been a rough couple of weeks for the Bruins in LA. And you've got the quarterback situation in Boise. This regular season is over. I think UCLA shows up here and wins this game. And they haven't won a bowl game in like 9 years. So this is kind of big for Chip. UCLA, I think, will handle this spread against Boise.
All right, UCLA is the pick there. And the thing is, I remember that Freedom Bowl. That was one of my favorites. If you can get some information on lopsided ticket sales, it gives you a real indication. Rivers and Neal, the two running backs, running back tandem for Fresno, as they won that comfortably as a big underdog against Crosstown USC. Hey, don't forget also that you can, until January 1st at BetRivers, you can earn a 25% NCAA football profit boost when you place a real money live wager of $25 or more on any college bowl game. Profit boost can be claimed one time per day during the promotional period. That starts this Saturday, December 16th, all the way through the bowl season. Let's go to Shreveport quickly as we got to get through these last two. I'll run up against the clock. The Indiependence Bowl, Texas Tech and Cal, Big 12 and Pac-12. Cal is catching 3 against Texas Tech.
Cal, last game is a Pac-12 school. They'll be an ACC school next year. We'll get used to that next season. Big news in the Texas Tech side. Taj Brooks, their top running back, 4th top running back in the country, announces he's coming back next year to Texas Tech. That is pretty good news for the Red Raiders. The thing that scares me about this game is you've got two teams coming off the end of the season completely opposite. Texas Tech got eviscerated in that game by Texas at Austin at the last regular season game. And Cal, very uplifting, won its last 3, won the big game against Stanford, and then stomped UCLA in the final, and comes in on a high note here. Sometimes that does flip around in the bowl games. We just mentioned the Boise UCLA game. We're going with the team that lost the last game. Here, I'm going to go with Cal because I think there's something about what happened to this team when they moved to Mendoza at quarterback late in the season. Very poised here. Freshman from Miami, he looked like he belonged right off the bat. Jaden Ott, the running back, putting up big numbers. I've always liked Wilcox, the head coach. We'll talk more about Joey McGuire and Texas Tech later. There's some reasons I'm not too thrilled about what's going on with Texas Tech and the way, saddling up to the big boosters now in the border regions and all that. I just don't. I'm still kind of mad at the way that thing with Matt Wells unraveled a couple of years ago. I like the way Cal is playing at the end of the year, and I'm going to give Wilcox a shot to win this game. I'm going to take Cal and Shreveport in the Independence Bowl over Texas Tech.
Texas Tech reeling from those opening tough losses in Laramie against Wyoming and at home against Oregon. And finally, and also Finally, we talked about the Frisco Bowl here. Texas San Antonio, this line is on the move. Just a day yesterday, it was Texas San Antonio was 10. Now it's 12.5 over Marshall. Cam Fancher, the starting quarterback for the Marshall Thundering Herd, is out for this one. Roadrunners, 12.5 here, Bruce.
Yeah, not just out, but I mean, some stuff came out in the last 24 hours about Charles Huff, the coach, saying how miserable the kid was here. And it was really a downer sort of a press conference that he had there talking about it. And I think that has sort of fueled, even since yesterday, the move up here without Fancher. So Pennington, the backup, looks like he's going to have to play in this game. But Marshall, though it did win its last game against Arkansas State, the last half of the season, it didn't look like a bowl team, Jimmy. They were 2-6 down the stretch. Charles Huff under a lot of heat. And they're in sort of enemy territory here as UTSA, which actually thought if SMU got a New Year's Six bid, this would not have been the assignment for the Roadrunners in the bowl game. They would have went to Fenway Park or Annapolis. Instead, everything gets knocked down a rung from the American, and they go to Frisco here up in the Metroplex. Actually, they're actually happier to go there. Their fans can go to the game. They have not won a bowl game. Jeff Traylor's 0-3 in bowls. By the way, he is staying there. He's not going. Remember, a few years ago, he said, told his agent, give me the longest term deal you can get here. Give him a 10-year deal. I think he's just going to stick there. And he was a high school coach for 25 years. You make $2.5 million a year after being in high school 25 years. You think that you won the lottery. So I think he's very content there. But the big thing is Frank Harris finally concludes his career after all those knee injuries he had. He's got worse knees than Joe Namath. But boy, when he was in there, he really helped UTSA. They won their last 7 until that Tulane game in the regular season finale. Everything points to UTSA here, so I can sort of understand this price going up. But up to 2 TDs, I'm good with it. I think they're going to come out there fired up, and kind of a downer the last 2 years in bowls for them. Harris finally leaving. Fans will be up there in Frisco. I'm going to take the Roadrunners and lay the points, even though
those senior quarterbacks sometimes can have a big last game in a bowl game. It kind of take it a little bit more seriously than maybe some of the others. All bowl season right here. Again, Paul Stone and Bruce Marshall breaking it down, picks, but also angles and the most important information. For Bruce Marshall, I'm Jimmy Yoder on the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.